The 3-3 Cub defense in the Minnesota defensive playbook is quickly becoming the top tier defense in Madden 26. We're going to be breaking it down for you here. Now, if you want to check out my entire Minnesota Vikings defensive ebook, it's going to be available in our school community, and that is going to be linked in the description. It literally gives you access for just $10 to all of my offensive and defensive ebooks for both Madden and for college football. So if you're looking to take your game to the next level in either one of those games, I would encourage you to join our school community. We're going to give you the every single thing that you need to know to win more games. So if you want to sign up for that, that link is going to be in the description. As I said, we're going to be taking a look at 3-3 Cub today. And what we're going to be doing first and foremost is we're going to be going through our coach adjustments, and then we'll talk a little bit about our packages and personnel, and then we'll get into our setup. So what I like to do is in our coach adjustments, kind of the keys here. You want to have auto flip defensive play call on. I personally like to set this to defensive motion response disabled. I don't even know if you need to or not, to be honest. If you're running man coverage, they'll still follow. If you're running zone coverage, they still won't. But in general, it's just something I've always done. Option read key, conservative. Option pitch key, aggressive. RPO read key, conservative. RPO pass key, conservative. These are just kind of the standard ways that I've been defending RPOs for the majority of the year. And then we get to zone drops. You have a lot of flexibility and freedom with zone drops in this game. I'm going to give you a couple of, principles to follow. Let's say that it's like 3rd and 15, 4th and 25, right? Something like that. Do not have your hooks on 5. You would want them on 15 or 20, right? Put them just below the first down marker so that they will stop those stemmed up curl routes. That's an option. Another thing you could do is, let's say you want to play those return routes and zigs a little bit better in standard defense. You could put these on 5. If you're running a match coverage, right, we're going to be talking about some match coverage. Maybe you just want all of these on default. Okay. Again, just different, variations, different reasons for why you would do X or Y or Z, depending on what your opponent is doing. Okay. Another really good zone drop in this year's game is putting your flats on 10. The reason why is because those 10-yard flats will do a pretty good job against the underneath routes, but they won't get roasted by the over top corner routes and things like that. They'll just do a good job of kind of playing in the middle of those two routes and really force your opponent to have to, kind of work their way up the field. So I love 10-yard hard flats in this game. Another zone drop that I think is relevant is a 20 to 25 yard curl flat. I like 20 in general. This is the best zone that I've seen for consistently being able to defend any kind of corner route. If you're struggling to stop a corner route, this is a really, 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 really good zone drop to do this. Again, I want to really clarify, and I'm going to talk about it when we talk about our match setups. If you are running match coverage, you do not want any of these on you want all of these on default, and normally I just play with them on default, and situationally I'll tinker and tweak them. And one big simple tip and piece of advice is every time you start a drive on defense, go through and just make sure your coaching adjustments are still set like you want them to be, because sometimes they reset randomly in this game and it's pretty bad. So anyways, those are the coach adjustments that I like. Let's talk a little bit about 3-3 Cub as a whole. The most important thing that you want to do here is at the bottom of the screen, you'll see packages. You want to set that package by flicking the right joystick right or left. You want to go to the OLB flip package. If you do not go to the OLB flip package, your adjustments will be messed up. And honestly, I think your blitz will be a little bit less effective. You want to be on the OLB flip package, as that is a very, very important step in this defense. And then from there, what that's going to do is that's going to sub players out. And so what you want to do is sub players in where you want them. As far as where you want your players, you basically want your fastest pass rushers possible at these outside linebacker positions. I would suggest just simply using a safety in most cases. And then you want your best shedders, the guys that get off the block the best. You want them in these 3 defensive linemen right here. That is super, super important. You really want your best overall shedder at this position if you can get him there. So anyways, as far as like if I was playing ultimate team, what abilities I'd recommend, I would have your defensive tackle have that instant rebate, El Toro, and double or nothing stack. And if you can't get it on a D tackle, you can get an edge defender in there within your depth chart. So anyways, Bottom line is these three guys, I feel like all of your abilities should be spent on block shedding abilities in this game because no other ability really matters. So at least defensively, so that's what I would do. Again, you do what you want ability wise, but these three guys you want to be people that can basically block shed. That's super, super important. And then one other big thing here is when we open up our little formation here, we're going to want to make sure that the shell is set to the cover 2 shell. The reason for that is we can then come out in pretty much any play in this defense and have a fairly straightforward, similar pre-snap tell. If they motion and stuff, man coverage will follow. Just a quick tip with that. But in general, if they don't motion and they just run their offense as is, you're going to be in a good spot. Only other thing I wanted to talk about real quick is the people that like to audible around or flip. So let's say that you play somebody and they go from like bunch to bunch tight end. You want to flip with them. This formation is really keen on, blitzing off specific sides. And so you want to be flipping with them. If they flip, you flip. It's a very simple rule. That also means we're going to need to make sure that our adjustments are relatively straightforward. But in general, that is the best way to run this defense. Here's how to blitz out a 3-3 cub in Madden 26. So the basic concept here, one real quick coach adjustments, make sure you have autoflip on. You're going to do this out of, really, I like 2 main plays. You could do it out of other plays, but I think the 2 best are, if you want to be in a zone base, do it out of Samuel Blitz 3. And if you want to be in a man base, do it out of Mike Blitz 0. To me, those are the 2 best, okay? And what we're going to do to set this defense up is actually really, really simple. So I'm going to do it out of Samuel Blitz 3 because I would prefer to play zone. And you're just going to show blitz your linebackers. You're going to QB contain once those linebackers are blitzed. So if you're not in a play that has the linebackers blitzed, you would blitz the linebackers and then QB contain. From there, what you want to do is you want to blitz your user. Okay, as you see, he's going to be blitzing into that gap right there. And then what I like to do is obviously, different coverage adjustments. So, we might just do a basic cover 3. This is probably the most basic one that I would run, something like this. And then I'm going to take this linebacker on the right-hand side, and I'm going to put him into a, some type of zone that I can switch stick onto him. So whether that be a 3-rec or a vert hook, either way. And typically I'll even shade him inside to make him a little bit more switch stickable. But essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to run down with my user, and then I'm going to D-pad switch. So the way you do that is you're going to hit right on the D-pad as you're kind of running down. So it'll take a little bit of getting used to. Another easy way to do this is if you don't really care to run down with your user, you could just let the game blitz for you. And essentially what you'll see here is I'm just going to let the game kind of blitz me down, and then you see I'm going to come in, and you see how I'm able to switch stick onto that vert hook with the D-pad. So I'll kind of break this down a little bit in replay for you. So I'm not even really, I'm just kind of standing there, but because I'm blitzing, right, he's going to eventually go. But anyways, you see I just simply D-pad switched to the yellow by hitting right on the D-pad, and it gave me him, okay? Now, the reason and the purpose for this is because the reason this is our base blitz is because in this game, if you do not blitz your user down, what this does by blitzing my user down is if they ever untarget my user, which people will do that. They'll be like, oh, this is the great new feature they put in the game. I'm going to untarget his user so that he can't hover and get that instant pressure. Well, now you're going to see that, I'm running down here. And if you wanted to start running down without moving before the snap, you're going to bring up the stump menu. So you can hit left on the D-pad, R1 to bring up the stump menu. You're going to hold down on your left stick. And then I'm just basically pre-planning to D-pad switch. And you see by doing that, my user has got a good chance to be able to come in clean. The other reason why I like this tactic is if they do any slide protection, so they have slide, they do any slide protection whatsoever to try to block this blitz, you're going to be in a really, really good spot. The reason being is because in this game, if you're blitzing this user over the center like this, then, or in between the center and the guard, if they have slide, they have to pick that up, and then you see your user comes in clean when they do that slide protection, okay? So the bottom line is this is probably one of the best ways to send 5 in this game. One other big thing, is you want to blitz off of the side that the tight end is not on. So for example, let's say that your opponent decides that they want to come out in a bunch like this, and you go through and you set up your defense and they flip. You have to flip with them. So you're going to flip everything and you're going to now blitz off of this side, right? And you'll just have to basically practice getting quick with your adjustments. Honestly, a little bit of muscle memory, doing this enough, you will get pretty good at it. But basically just, you would go through, and in a live game, you'd have a little bit more time. Practice mode, I feel like they flip even faster. But essentially, it would look just like this. And you're going to send the pressure off the side. And you see it's probably the most consistent send 5 against 5 out of the game. If they don't block a running back, this blitz is going to be very consistent for you. And it's just, in my opinion, one of the best ways to send 5 in this game. I want to talk now about how to send 4 out of 3-3 Cub, and specifically how to send 4 once you've established your send 5 and they've realized their different protection mechanisms don't work, or if you're playing a beginner player that does not know how to do advanced pass protection. This is, in my opinion, one of the best ways to send 4 in this game. So what we're going to do is we are going to make sure this is on auto flip on, and you can really do this out of any play. But again, I prefer to do this out of either Samuel Blitz 3 or Mike Blitz 0. And I like zone better, so I'm going to do it out of Samuel Blitz 3. Setup is you're just going to show blitz your linebackers. And then let me actually move the ball here to the left side. But you're just going to show blitz your linebackers. And then you're going to zone out the linebacker on the right side. So what makes this really easy is what you could do, which is kind of fun, is you could globally zone your linebackers. What that does is it'll give you hook curls. So you're going to hit right on the D-pad, flick the right joystick up, and that's going to global zone. And then you can hit right on the D-pad, flick the right joystick to the right, and that will blitz. Or, well, I guess we'll just individually do it. And then we'll just individually blitz this guy. The reason I like that is because I prefer hook curls in this game, but you don't have to do that. And then what we're going to do is just shade down and then play cover 2 on the left like this. And QB contain is kind of our last thing, that we want to do here. So anyway, as you see, this is what the send 4 looks like. You want to send 4 off of the non-tight end side. And essentially you'll see here that if the guard is going to basically just target my user and this thing comes in, this is when they've stopped on targeting your user, or if you're playing somebody that does not know about that, this is a great way to send 4. I also will typically do this send 4 a lot throughout the game because I don't really want to. Send 5 is, there's just so many coverage holes, and so I'm not going to send that send 5 all game long, right? We're going to send 4 a lot more. So anyway, the reason that I like this is because I just think it's a very, very simple defense to be able to run. If you want a simpler way to set this up, all you have to do is just zone or put the guy on the right in whatever coverage you want. And then I really recommend, especially if you're playing a formation like this, do not leave that hard flat there on the left. You want a deep half and hard flat like that. That makes the most sense. And then you want a QB contain. I like to re-hook curl my user as well. But anyway, you see, pretty good, pretty consistent little send 4 there. Now let's say they were in a formation like Y off trio close, for example, and the running back and tight end are on the same side. I would still recommend sending the pressure like this if you could. Now you can get the pressure to come in off the right side, and I'll show that if you really wanted to. Let's say you're playing like a trips or something. It would help a little bit with coverage, but there are just a chance for that guy to get chipped. So let's show you a trips look. So let's say you had a bunch tight end or trips tight end look. It would look something like this right here. I think the best strategy is to still blitz off the left, but the route combos are so bad to the right side, especially against like a bunch tight end or something like that, and the bubbles are so good that you might want to send it off the right side. So what you can do is, it's basically the same thing. You would just stand here. And the biggest thing that I would say is this contain is really important because the contain will help a little bit prevent the chipping from happening. And then, basically what we would do here is kind of exactly identical, right? We would just play, a cover 2 like this. You can soft squat, hard flat, whatever you want. But this will do a decent job. It'll also do a decent job against bubble screens. And you see there, right, you're able to kind of get that guy to pressure. But I will tell you, and as you just saw, it's definitely worse off that side. So just keep that in mind. You can do the same thing if they're in bunch, by the way. If you wanted to mix it up a little bit, you could stand over here. I just think the blitz is so much worse on this side, especially the Sin 4. The Sin 5 is still pretty good, but the Sin 4 is so much worse. Came in clean there, but a lot slower. And so anyway, those are just, you certainly can do that. But I think overarching theme here is you don't want to blitz on the tight end side if possible, especially against formations like bunch, normal off close, doubles flex close, bunch X nasty, U trips, wild trill weak, things like that. If you're getting the bunch tight end and trip tight end blocking, obviously there's a little bit of an exception to that. But in general, this Sin 4 is probably my most called defense in the game. And I love just adjusting out of that Sin 4. And we're going to show you some other change-up pressures as well. One of the things I wanted to be sure and cover about this defense is the changeup, or the, if they are just so overcommitting to blocking your blitz, what you can do. So what you can do is, if they are really, taking steps to block your blitz, here's why you're going to see this. I'm just going to do this out of Samuel blitz. Basically what's going to happen eventually at some point, right, is they are going to say, okay, I'm tired of getting blitzed off that left side. He's always hovering on the left side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just full slide everybody to the left. And what you'll see here is, if you're sending the 5-man like this, a lot of times, this will get picked up, as you see, because they're putting everybody, all their resources over there. Now, sometimes you get that linebacker disengaging or coming in like that. But in general, this is one of the things they will do, right? And so once you get them to a point where they're doing that, what I like to do is this change up blitz. It's very simple. I also like to use this change up option as a way to send 4, 3, or 2. I call it my passive pressure. And so this is how you would do it. So essentially, again, they're going to be full sliding. They can't half slide. They have to full slide everybody over there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to zone out this linebacker on the left side. And as you see, we're just going to send 4. We're still going to show blitz a linebacker. It's still going to walk him into that position. And we're just going to send 4 here. And what you're going to see is this guy's going to come in completely clean off that side if they full slide. He will not come in completely clean. Let me just show that. So let's say that I don't full slide. If I don't full slide, you see here, he's not going to get, he's going to get blocked. Okay. But the beauty of this is he is going to get blocked, but he is going to get a one-on-one as well. And so because he's going to get this one-on-one, what we can also do with this is this can be our variation of a send 2. So the way we would send 2 out of this is we would spy the D tackle. We would zone out this D end over here on the left, and then we have our user. And so we could send 2 like this, and you'll see he'll always get that one-on-one. And it's also just so happens to be on the right side typically, which is where the quarterback typically will try to roll. If they're right-handed, if they're left-handed, obviously you would flip it. You could also, right, send 2 this way. So if I wanted to send 2 off of this side, for whatever reason, I could do that. And it doesn't have, my user is really not, like, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to get the one-on-one no matter what. So anyway, that's just a method, right, to sending 2 in this game, is to send 2 off of the edges and then have spies in the middle of the field. So anyway, so you have a send 2, you have a send 4, and then if you ever wanted to send 3, let me show you one other thing about the send 2. So if I do the send 2 and they do that full slide, right, what you're going to see here is this guy will come in free. So again, this is why it's one of my preferred ways to send 2, because it's just a great change up to what we're normally doing, right? To what we're normally doing. The same is true, right? The same is true if I was constantly getting this pressure off of the right side. The same is basically true if I send 2 this way. So if I send 2 here, you're going to see, right, we're sending 2 off that left side. I full slided right, and you see that guy normally comes in, didn't right there. And then if you ever wanted to send 3, okay, if you ever wanted to send 3, there's really 2 methods. Number 1, you can just zone out the linebackers and send 3 like this. This is totally fine. You can get, really, really good shed animations from 3-3 Cub in this game. That is totally an option, right, for sending 3. One of my other options, though, for sending 3 is to send 3 off of a side. So what I would do here is if I want to send 3 off the left side, right, I would just zone those 2, keep the DT blitzing. Sometimes this will come in free, and then, you see there we're getting kind of a good rush, right? And the same is true on the other side here. So I'm going to keep the DT blitzing, but I'm going to drop the other two guys, make it look the same here. And again, if they full slide, you're going to see this guy comes in clean on the outside. And then if they don't full slide, right, they just run a basic protection or whatever, maybe I guess wrong in this defense, I'm still not hurt, right? I'm still in a good spot. And the reason being is because this guy's going to get that one-on-one and, you know, he's going to potentially be able to shed. So those are the main ways, main uses, right, for the Sen 3, the Sen 2, the Sen 4. The only other way that I would suggest Sen 4 is just the basic one that I've already shown, which is to just zone this linebacker out on the right, Sen 4 just like this. This is obviously my core main Sen 4, right? But when I want to use a change-up blitz where I know they might be doing some things to try to specifically pick up the base defense that I'm running, then I'll go to these change-up options, which are going to do a good job of kind of blending together the whole defense to be able to consistently get pressure on your opponent. So this is kind of my base coverage shell right now that I'm utilizing out of the 3-3 Cub defense. What we're going to do is we are going to put our flats on 10. It's a great little midpoint, and it's going to do a good job of kind of midpointing within the flat zones for them to play a lot of different things. There are obviously situations where you want to put these on default. You actually want a regular cloud flat or you want a regular hard flat. But in general, as a base coverage shell, I do like 10-yard flats in this game. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to do this out of the play Sam Will Blitz 3. And all we're going to do is we're going to show blitz our linebackers, and we are going to blitz my user. And when we blitz our user, we're going to essentially hover in this spot right here. Now, as far as how we're going to play defense, all you're going to do is you are going to take your linebacker on this right-hand side, and you are going to put him in a hook. You're then going to shade underneath. You're going to deep half or inside quarter this safety on the left side, kind of just depending on what they're doing, right? Typically, it's going to be a deep half. And then you're going to hard flat this outside corner. So you see this is what it looks like. Now, again, we have the 10-yard flats. And what you're going to see here is effectively at the snap of the ball, we are going to D-pad switch to the linebacker on the right side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up the stump menu by hitting left on the D-pad, R1. And then at the snap of the ball, I'm going to basically run down a little bit, and then I'm going to hit right on the D-pad to get me to the linebacker. So you see, on the D-pad, and you see, gets me on the linebacker, and we're able to not only get good pressure, but we're also able to have effective coverage. Now, the best way for them to block this blitz is, of course, for them to just actually block a running back. So what we're doing is we're taking away the quick reads with this play. If you take a look here to the left side, this is the running back table route everybody wants to run. This 10-yard flat, while they can still throw the table route, and I know the hitch is open, right? But while they can still throw the table route, the rally and tackle ability of this is going to be just fine. Like I'm totally okay with giving up a 3-yard table route in this situation and forcing them to have to like work their way up and down the field. Again, this is a base cover shell. It's not, if we want to get really aggressive, we have some other ones, but this is kind of the basic one that I like to do. So again, we're going to show you how to kind of set this up. Another cool way to set this up, if you don't like vert hooks, is you can globally zone your linebackers, and then you're going to individually re-blitz the two linebackers on the left. As you see, that hook curls this guy right here, and then you can shade underneath, put this guy in a half, put this guy in a flat, and it looks just like this. Now, the other thing here is we are going to go ahead and contain, and when you do contain, as you see, it resets your user, so just make sure to re-blitz them if you need to. Now, as far as what my user is effectively going to run at and what are the main combos and bunch. So the main combos and bunch that you're going to see is you're going to see some variation of this right here. Very, very popular play this year. And so what I'm looking to do is kind of get on that hook curl, and I got to get that hook curl to the middle of the field. If he stays in that kind of seam area of the field, obviously the left side's open. Another thing you could do with this, if you want to get a little bit more aggressive, is you could man up that isolation receiver like this, and then that would, kind of help take away those snap throw reads. But anywho, what you're going to see here is, again, I'm going to D-pad switch. I'm going to get him to the middle of the field. And you see how I'm able to kind of handle one of the better plays in the game relatively easily with this. And then as far as like a motion cross post setup, let's say they did something like this right here, we're going to be okay against this. So again, show blitz your linebackers. We're going to zone our linebackers and then blitz this linebacker, QB contain, and set this up like so. And what this will do against this combination here is you have the hook curl in perfect position. All you're going to need to do essentially is just switch stick to this deep middle third. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to switch stick here, run at this, and then switch stick on the middle third and take the crosser. So you see, it's going to do a good job, especially against 5 out. If they're 5 outing, right, this is going to be one of the better coverage shells in the game to take care of some of the problems. Now let's talk about what are blocked running back combos. So what if they block a running back here? Okay, so if they block a running back here, we actually are in a pretty decent spot overall. Like a couple different things that we're going to have here in terms of what's a standard good block running back combo. It would honestly be something like this right here. It would be a flood concept like this with a high low over the middle of the field. Very common. Okay, we don't really have to switch stick to the corner, because what you're going to see is these 5-yard flats are going to do a exceptional job at being able to get out here. So let me just show that real quick. So again, if I see the running back block, there's not a ton of purpose into blitzing your user. You can kind of go out in coverage, because the blocked running back is going to block the blitz. However, you could send him as well. You'll get better sheds if you send him. Kind of different things you could do with that. But essentially, let's just say we're here, right? We can kind of carry that, and then we're somewhat okay again against another high level combo that people are going to utilize in this game. And this coverage shell pretty much applies, cross applies to almost any type of 3x1 set in this game. If your opponent was in, let's say, a 2x2, you're still pretty decent. So let's say they were in this play out of YSL, right? We would still be blitzing off this left side because we don't want to blitz off the tight end side, right? So it would basically be identical. Literally, we would just basically do this. And then, what you would see is you'd have that flat there, right? And then you would have something like this. So it's basically the same gist of what we're doing. And really the vulnerability is kind of the same, right? That left side seam area is really where we're vulnerable here, but we could pop into coverage at any point if we wanted to. And then if we wanted to send 4 off of this variation, all we're going to do is put our user in a hook. So if I ever wanted to just send 4, I'm just going to put my user in a hook. It's basically the same coverage, but now I'm able to actually give my defense some help in that left side little hook curl area of the field. Now I want to show you my favorite man coverage shell out of this defense. It's a great mix-in shell. It's a cover 0 shell, but it is pretty good, and it's going to help you, especially if you're going to be sending, good pressure. We're going to be kind of planning here to send 5, and really there's only 1 or 2 things that we really realistically need to stop. Now, when I do this, I am normally going to not have these on 10. You could have them on 10, but normally I'm not going to have them on 10 because I'm a little bit more aggressive when I want to play this cover 0. So I'm going to put them on default. And we're going to come out in the Mike Blitz 0 because that's the way to send 5 out of man here. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to set the blitz up real quick, right? All we have to do is basically run our user down just like this. We're going to QB contain, and then we're going to take this linebacker on the right side. Now, a couple different things that you can do, but there's a way that I like to run this. So essentially there's a couple things you have to worry about. The first thing first is if you have, a fast slot receiver, they send him vertical, right? He could be a threat, right? Vertical. But the other main thing that you have to worry about if you're going to play man-to-man, even if you scissor, by the way, so even if I really adjust like this running back flat is so darn good. And if they hit that and they get that animation, right, it's a touchdown. So you have to kind of worry about that a little bit. So how we're going to defend this is we are simply going to QB contain, again, show blitz your linebackers, that's kind of standard here, but show blitz your linebackers, QB contain, you're standing right here. And then you're going to take these safeties and you're going to man them up on the 2 receivers on the side. So we're going to man the safety up on the left on the solo receiver. We're going to man the safety on the right up on the slot receiver. Now, what that allows us to do is it allows us to be a little bit more conservative in terms of taking away the big play. And then we're going to hard flat this corner on the left-hand side. And then the linebacker, what we're going to do is we're going to man him up on the tight end, and we're going to take the slot corner and put him in a curl flat. Part of the reason for that is because the curl flat is going to do a really good job of different things that they might want to do. And one of the best things I think you could do is actually individually press the outside guy, but you don't have to do that. If you want to back the guy up, you can, or if you just want to leave him where he's at. So essentially, as far as who are we switch sticking onto, what I like to do when running this specific defense is I like to switch stick onto the left side flat. The reason being is because that if the running back does not run a table route, right, you're pretty much that's like the zone that has the most flexibility, is if that running back does not run a table route. So if the running back does run a table route and you switch right here, right, you're right there to be able to play that. Okay. So that's a scary read for them to make. It could very easily turn into a pick six depending on how they want to do it. So that's one option. The next thing, as far as like how this shell is going to do a good job, is if you wanted a simpler setup, by the way, just take the linebacker, put him in the purple, and you can kind of like call it a day. The reason I don't like to do that is because I really like, I mean, even another one is to take the linebacker and man him up on the slot receiver and then put the purple here. Only reason I don't like to do that is because at the end of the day, it is a linebacker on a slot receiver, but you know, this will get a press. So what you'll see here is like, let's say this guy runs like a corner route or something. You'll see here that this presses him pretty well, you know, and he plays decent against this. The other big thing when playing cover zero is you want to be route committing to the inside, generally speaking. And that's why that's also the purpose for like the curl flat and things like that, because the curl flat's going to do a really good job. If you want to get really adjusted, you could actually put a cloud flat over here like this, and then you could get really adjusted with how you actually adjust those man coverage defenders. That could be something. The only weakness to that is, of course, auto motion, because if they auto motion here, you're going to see the cloud will follow him. And this is why I don't like to do that, because you see now you're really messed up, and then you're just all jacked up. So that's why I think like this zoning the slot corner or zoning the linebacker. If you don't want to zone, again, if you want a very simple setup, just man up this guy here, flat that guy, and then purple the linebacker. And just call it a day. Right, you could even just individually back off the slot. I think that's just helpful in this game, going to help prevent kind of bigger plays from happening. But this is just a very simple send four shell. And then the other thing with this is if you see the running back block. So let's say they did like something like this, and they have the running back blocked. You're going to be in a pretty good spot, and the reason why is because this flat zone again is free to click onto. So what I'm planning is I'm just going to D-pad switch to the left side. Okay, it's going to almost guaranteed, going to put me on the flat defender. Okay, so you see here, just D-pad switch left, and then now I'm able to kind of run right in here and be able to make a play. Right, I could have played that post route as well. I'm able to kind of help this coverage shell out a little bit. If they're killing you with corner routes, one of the things that can happen, I just want to quickly highlight that, is let's say they get a good corner route animation. Doesn't happen every time, but there are in this game, you could get a decent corner route animation, and if you have this guy on a purple, he'll kind of play it, but effectively there is a window, and I'll show it here real quick. Let's see if we can hit it. See how he just kind of dusted that corner on the right side? So if you're ever dealing with that, what you could do is individually route commit that guy to the outside. It's normally the outside receiver on the bunch. So you could do that as well. So again, we're just going to keep it contained. Purple this guy, man this guy up, flat this guy right here. And then if we have time, we're going to individually adjust the guy covering the circle receiver, which is that outside receiver, and we're going to route commit him to the outside. He's the one that's most likely to be on a corner route. If you really think about, what are the best combos in the game? What are they going to run? Realistically, that's the one. And that's the one that the curl flat's going to struggle to guard. So now you see, still kind of got popped, but he's able to recover a little bit better, than he did previously. So anyway, in general, those are kind of some things that you can do. I will say one other quick thing that I wanted to give you just a quick piece of advice on with running man coverage in this game, something that I think is worth at least knowing, is there's really two other things that they're going to do, especially from like a bunch type set, is they're going to call this Y flat goal line play, and you're going to have curl flats on 20, and you're going to be in this. So if they call this Y flat goal line play, you're going to see here that this guy, this receiver on the right side, he kind of gets a speed burst, and they can basically just insta throw it. So what I would do against that, there's really a couple ways to adjust to it. So the first one is that standard thing that we just showed you, right, with the purple. You see that I have a zone drop purple. Now this zone drop purple will play a corner route, but it won't play this, speed flat. As you see, like I'm able to hit it, I'm able to get upfield, I'm able to go. So what I would do is if they're hitting you with that a lot, I would simply hard flat this linebacker, and I'll talk a little bit about why. So you basically need a hard flat. And The reason being is now you have that purple in case they're running a deeper corner, and then they're running this more shallow corner, and you see here, hard flat will kind of get in the throwing lane a little bit, but one of the best things you could do, right, one of the best things you could do is have a hard flat on this outside corner, kind of like what I was talking about, and then, man up the tight end here, and then, or, I mean, you don't even have to have it on the outside corner, just have it on the slot, now that I think about it, have it like that. That's perfectly fine. Again, this is situational, of course, and this is adaptable. But if they're hitting you with the short corner again and again and again, this is something you need to have in your arsenal, defensive adjustment wise. Now you see the flat plays it perfectly, and he takes that route away. The next coverage shell we're going to be using out of the nickel 3-3 cub. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to put these flats on 10. And you don't necessarily need your curl flats on 20. If you want to have them on that, you can. If you want to put your hooks on 5, you can do that. You can have just a straight up zone drop setup. But in general, we're just going to go with a 10-yard flat. I don't really necessarily need the 20-yard curl flat. Now, what we're going to do with this defense is I typically will run this out of a cover 2 just because I think it's a little bit easier to adjust it out of. But you could easily just do this at a Samuel blitz as well. You just have to obviously make the coverage adjustment. So anyways, as you see here, Tampa 2, we're going to show blitz the linebackers. We're going to blitz this linebacker on the left side. And then you're going to QB contain just like that. Now, what I like to do here is I'm going to flat my user, hard flat my user just like this. I'm going to outside third, the solo side, outside corner, and then I'm going to middle third, the safety on the left-hand side. So basically what we're looking for here is we are essentially really looking for primarily the running back, if he goes on a route or not. If the running back goes on a route or not, we kind of have to go guard him to the flat side. So what I'll basically do here is if I see this running back go on this table route, I'm going to essentially go user it. So snap the ball, you see, we'll go use the running back table and kind of like try to quote unquote scare them from throwing a running back flat route like that. What this is really good for though is any kind of situation where, I'll show you real quick what they could do like a running back streak, or they do like the cross flat. So like if they run like the cross flat, this is a really good adjustment setup for that. And the reason being, and you can outside third on the left side if you want to, that'll get you a little bit more aggressive, but effectively what'll happen is it's really good for this kind of a setup right here, because all I basically have to do, right, is just switch stick on to this, middle third or something like that. So you see, we're able to play pretty good defense against one of the better concepts in the game. So this is just a straightforward setup. Now, if you wanted to do it out of Samuel blitz, the reason I like to do it out of Samuel blitz, I do like the blitz angles a little bit better. And obviously, if we were coming out in cover 2 shell, we'd be in a decent setup here. But it does require a little bit more adjustments. So what you're going to do is you're going to middle third this guy. You're going to deep half or outside third. Kind of depends on your preference, honestly. Normally I'll deep half, but if they're killing me with corner routes, I'll outside third him. And then on the right-hand side here, we're going to we're going to cloud flat here. We're going to vert hook here. And then this linebacker, a lot of flexibility with this guy. You could just spy him over the middle of the field, which would allow you to click onto him. You could also put him in man coverage on somebody on the bunch side. I don't really necessarily care who it is. The cool part is if you man him up on the tight end and they run cover 3, we run this cover 3 cloud like this or like this, you're going to be in a really, really good spot. So anyway, that's kind of how I like to run this. And normally what I'll do is I'll just spy him and then I'll actually switch stick onto him once I kind of run over here to the flat. So again, something like this, right? We're able to switch stick here and be in a pretty decent spot to handle some of the things that they're going to want to do. So that's kind of how I like to run this shell. Again, the whole purpose of this, and like I said, I do like it a little better out of this. It's just faster out of cover 2. The problem with cover 2, I think, is the blitz angles of the D line are not as favorable in my opinion. But ultimately, this is a really, really good shell unless they run spacing switch, which our main shells take away spacing switch. So that's kind of like the back and forth, right? Cat and mouse game. But it's essentially, cover 3 clouding the right-hand side. If you wanted to, you could double flat as well. I don't think you necessarily need to, but you could double flat this and have the yellow right here if you wanted to do that. That's an option. Don't normally need to do that. What I would recommend, honestly, is just manning up this linebacker on somebody on the bunch side, whether it's the tight end or the slot are the two most popular. You could also man him up on the running back, and he would help against motion cross posts. But generally, I'm going to almost always man him up on the tight end, to be honest. Tight end is normally the guy on the post route, and the tight end is normally the guy that can kill you if they're trying to attack cover 3 cloud with a shriek, slot fade, corner combo. So like if they did something like this, right? The tight end would really be the only threat. And because I have him manned up, what that allows me to do here is it allows me to kind of hover right in here, right? Switch stick to this defender, and then, you know, we're okay. I actually accidentally switched stick to the deep half, which gave it the slot fade. But in general, you know, this is what I like to do out of this. And again, I think it's a real straightforward coverage shell. It's a little bit more safe in terms of like what it actually provides to you. It provides a lot more coverage. But the beauty of this is if the running back runs across the middle of the field, essentially you're almost quasi following the running back. The reason I like this so much is because I think it does a really good job against this combo, because essentially what you have here is you have this running back, you know, what you're going to effectively run to. So I'm just going to run to the running back here, right? And then once I see he crosses the field, I'm able to kind of be an extra player over the middle. One of the things you may or may not know is that the Cover 4 Show 2 is actually a matching defense, and it is also a defense that is great for kind of a change of pace type of defense. So the way that I like to run this defense, first and foremost, you want to make sure that your zone drops are all on default. If they are not on default, the match will not match, okay? But what I'm going to basically do is come out in this Cover 4 Show 2. I'm going to show blitz the linebackers here. And then we have a couple of different options in terms of how we might want to run this. The bottom line is this: if you take these quarter flats off of the field, the match will not match, okay? If you take the quarter flats off the field, the match will not match. So you have a couple of options. What I like to do with this is just simply use this as a change-up defense, where I was talking about, like if they're slide protecting you, if they're full slide protecting you, then this this linebacker on the right-hand side here is going to come free. So let me just show that. So against a regular protection, you'll see this linebacker doesn't come free, but he does get a one-on-one, and he can shed that, right? So that's okay. But then if they slide protect to the left side, like full sliding to the left side, then this linebacker will come in free. So it's a great kind of mix-up coverage shell and a mix-up blitz kind of aspect. Now, if I want to trigger this pressure to come in, let's say you want to run this coverage a little bit more, what you can do is you can just hover on this side right here. And if you hover on this side, a lot of times this will trigger this guy to come in, okay? So a couple different ways to kind of, you know, run this. But in general, this is just essentially a change-up match coverage. I mean, at the core, that's what we're basically going to do here. And the whole key to the whole thing is make sure you keep these quarter flats on the field. That really, if you take the quarter flats off the field, it basically ruins the match, and that's the whole point of calling this play. Now, we'll say if you want to use a send 3, what I like to do is take this linebacker and man him up on either the slot or the tight end, either one. And we could just send 3 like this. This is perfectly viable in my opinion. And, you know, you can kind of run a match coverage, you know, like this, and you're going to be playing good match coverage. Now, why run match coverage in the first place? What is it good against? It's actually good against a lot of things this year. It's really good against any kind of like something like this. It's really good against the corner route plays to the right side. Like, you're going to be in a pretty good spot here. So you'll see here again, you know, I'm able to, you know, see how the match kind of matches that crosser pretty well. He'll actually kind of crazily play that. So those are just some ways that I like to run match coverage as far as this goes against bunch. Couple different things that you could do as well. Let's say you wanted to just match the bunch side. So you wanted to play a little bit more aggressive and you really only are looking to match the bunch side. What I would do is, if I wanted to, I would blitz this guy off the left side. And now we're in this, you know, kind of blitzing type of deal. And then what I would do is I would definitely hard flat and I would run the man up. So this is kind of a hybrid coverage. And then on the right-hand side, you could send that linebacker, but I don't think there's a ton of purpose to that. What I would recommend is if you bluff blitz the linebacker, he'll turn into a 3-rec, and then you can run that blitz user like this, and now you could send really aggressive in match, and you still have the match coverage aspect of it. The reason match coverage is really good is because match coverage is really, really good against bunch sets. It's really, really good against any kind of compression set for that matter. Obviously, there are beaters, so you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to run this defense an absurd amount. But situationally, this is one of the best ways to change up the picture, and you're going to be able to get your really, really good pressure with this. So there's just a lot of great aspects to match coverage this year. I do think it is good. It's not a defense I would run every single down, but it is a defense that I would use situationally as a changeup. Again, another one of my favorite ways to run this defense is to just send 4. So if I want to just send 4 like this, I think this is fairly safe. What I would do is hard flat my user, and then I would bluff blitz this guy. The reason being is one of the things that hurts match coverage is any kind of drag route will do a decent job of kind of messing it up. So if we were to have, our user here in a hard flat, or let's see here real quick here, we could then scissor, or we could just hard flat here, and then we could cross man our user on the tight end and play a little bit more passive, or we could just honestly leave our user in this 3-rec like this, and then man up the tight end like so. Now we have this hard flat. The beauty of the hard flat is it takes away the tight end drags, it takes away stuff like that. And then the thing that I think match coverage does a really good job of would be handling a combination like this. You'll see here on this left side. So you're going to do a really good job against any kind of corner route to the right hand side. You basically don't even have to worry about that. And you see, I mean, this just will take that concept completely away, and you're able to still get some degree of pressure as well, depending on how they're blocking. One of my favorite cover shows from 3-3 Cub to stop wild trio close is cover 4 show 2. You want to make sure none of your zone drops are set, but this is a really, really good little way to defend this formation. I'm going to go over the first combo that you see a lot of people run, be something like this. How we're going to set up the defense is we're going to show blitz the linebackers. We're going to then bluff blitz this linebacker on the left-hand side. And then what I like to do is go ahead and take this linebacker on the left, blitz him. And then what's really, really important is because we are going to blitz him, we're going to also blitz our user. And then we're going to play man coverage on the safety here to the solo. And we're going to run a hard flat like that. Now, the reason I like this so much is you have a match concept to the left and a zone concept to the right. And effectively, all you're going to need to do with your user is just switch stick to this 3-rec hook defender. One other big tip is to route commit to the inside. That's going to help with most of the patterns that they're going to run. We can also, within this defense, switch stick to the hard flat defender on the left, because he doesn't really have any responsibility, especially if the tight end doesn't run a drag. So you'll see here, I'll just D-pad switch, we get good pressure. And I wanted you to notice that we're actually matching that running back wheel that everybody likes to throw. What you'll see here is you'll notice that that quarter flat is going to match that. And then take a look at what the 3-rec does. The 3-rec actually matches the tight end across the field. And then I'm obviously running into position to be able to user that. Another combo that is really, really popular would be kind of this combination right here with that short crosser. And what you're going to see is I'm still in a really, really good spot to be able to defend that, because I've got that hard flat, I've got that man up, and then I've got these 2 blitzers here. But what's nice about this is I'm switch sticking onto this flat route or 3-rec every time. So you see here, I'm going to switch stick on the hard flat. I see he's running there, so I can just, basically dive onto the running back route. So you just have a lot of answers. Another thing that I love about this is that, let's say that I don't want to send 5. Let's say I just want to send 4. If I just want to send 4, what I'll typically do is, I love this hard flat man up adjustment so much, but what I'll typically do on the right-hand side is I'm actually just going to cross man my user. So I'm still going to bluff blitz just like this. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to either put my user in just a basic middle third, or I'm going to like cross man him onto the running back. Or another little variation that you could do is a quarter, just to get better leverage. I could do a quarter here and cross man him here, right? A lot of versatility with how we could run this defense. But ultimately, what I think it generally the purpose of this defender would be for any kind of like return route or crosser. So typically, if they're going to run like a crosser, but basically I'll just user this guy. You know, if they run like a combination like this, we're going to be in a pretty good spot because you'll see that that bluff blitz is going to do a really good job of kind of taking that. You see that crosser matches the crosser. Like everything is matched very, very well without really having a ton of user responsibility in terms of, you know, how you would want to set this up defensively. And then lastly, the other combo that you see a lot out of this would be, you know, any type of like return route, you know, something like this. This is pretty popular. This is going to do really good against this. The reason being is because you're going to be able to match that right side very, very well. You have this bluff blitz here, which is a great adjustment. And then you're just essentially going to be switch sticking onto this hard flat, and this hard flat doesn't have a job. So you can just run this hard flat basically into coverage here. You see, oh, I got that tied in, and we're basically able to match everything that they could do from this formation pretty well. The only thing that can happen is when they run this cheat motion play. So if they do want to run the cheat motion play, this play can do a little bit of issue, give you a little bit of issue, but not a ton. If you think about it, right, if we're setting up our main concept here, like we're still in a pretty good spot. All I would really recommend is if I see the cheat motion, I'm going to put my user in a flat and I'm going to man that guy up on the cheat motion receiver. I'm still going to play match to the right. So, you know, essentially, if they run this, I'm just going to man this guy up to the cheat motion guy. And then I'm going to switch stick onto this inside quarter. And you see how I'm able to play pretty good. And then that guy on the right actually matches the running back. So those are some of my answers to why trio close as far as coverage shell goes. But I do think the cover 4 match probably gives you the best chance overall at being able to handle some of the main things that people are doing from wild trio close. One of the best formations in Madden 26 is trips tight end. Here's how I like to defend it. First and foremost, auto flip's going to be on the conservative, aggressive, conservative, conservative, and then we're going to get on these close and pinch, and just make sure the biggest thing is that we don't have any zone drops set for this way we're going to play defense, okay? We're going to be in Samuel Blitz 3. I'm going to show you kind of a cute little way to defend trips. So what we're going to do, Samuel Blitz 3, call it, and all you're going to do for setup is you're going to show blitz those linebackers. That puts them in just a great position here. And all we need to do is we are going to essentially play match coverage on the left side. And we're going to also blitz as well. So the way that I typically like to blitz trips, you can kind of do it a couple different ways. There's really two ways, and I'll just show you. So the first way is we can send the pressure off of this left side like this. This is really consistent from a pressure perspective, but the coverage is fairly weak because you don't have extra help. So what you would need to do is you would need to inside quarter this guy right here. You would need to middle third this guy right here. And then what I would do is have effectively like a flat and of some sort, and then maybe like a man up on the tight end or something. So like be something like this, and then we'd have like a flat. And my intention would be to switch stick to the tight end. So it would look something like that right there. Or, you know, you could, if you wanted to be safer, you could just play cover 4 effectively like that with a quarter. You have I would still have that middle third. But anyway, what you'll see here is this blitz will come in 100% out of 100% of the time. Like it's a very good blitz, especially if they 5 out it. The biggest issue with it is you're going to get killed with this running back cross route. You know, you'd have to kind of user that yourself. And then you see how it's kind of open in the middle. So to me, like, especially in this game, most of the time, like while the blitz is really good off the trip side, that's kind of a situational, more aggressive thing. What I would do is have more coverage that way. So because most of the combos and trips are going to the left, okay? The combos to the right in trips are really not that good. So what I would do is hover right in this area right here, and then this allows us to kind of do some unique stuff with our match. So what we can do is we're going to globally zone our linebackers out. We're going to individually blitz the linebacker on the right, QB contain, and then individually blitz your user. You have to contain before you blitz your user, or your user will reset. Very, very important. Now from there, it's actually really simple how we're going to play this defense. All we're going to do is we're going to switch stick to this middle third on the right side. So we're gonna put this middle third here. We're gonna have an inside quarter right there. And then we're gonna have essentially a soft squat, a hard flat, whatever you want, some type of flat over there on the right. I like a soft squat generally, but it looks like this. So essentially what I'm doing with my user is I'm gonna switch stick either to the hook curl defender or the middle third. And so you'll see here, snap the ball, I switch stick here. I can just kind of snap down on that. And we play pretty good defense there, right? I could use those crossers over the middle or whatever. One of the combos you have to be ready for every year when you play trips is something like this. Well, if we get like a motion Y post type of route combo, what we're able to do here is we're just going to switch stick onto this middle third because this inside quarter will match that middle trips receiver everywhere he goes. So it would look something like this. We switch stick here, and we're playing decent defensively in terms of what they would potentially want to do. So it's a great little kind of match type coverage shell where this inside quarter is going to do a really good job. Another way to kind of do this, if we wanted to blitz over on this side, if we definitely wanted to do that, what I would do is I would man up I would inside quarter the safety on the right side, and then I would take the linebacker and put him in a seam flat. Very, very important. You have to have that seam flat there. And then I would man up the tight end. So you see it looks like this. And then what we're able to do here now is, because again, we're going to be blitzing these two linebackers. You'll see here that I can take the safety and put him in a hook like that. And essentially planning to switch stick onto the safety here on the left side. So you see, right, played pretty decent from a coverage perspective. Another way we could basically get to the same thing here would be something like this, where we inside quarter this guy on the left side. We're going to then man the linebacker up onto, really it just comes down to manning. Even just a basic curl flat would be fine, but you have something like this, and then you have that hook curl to the safety. So now you have that tight end manned up, and then you just basically are going to D-pad up to this hook curl, and you're going to try to get over here and help out that trip side. Those are a couple different ways that I like to defend trips tight end out of the more matchy type coverage shell from this Samuel Blitz 3. And it's going to do a good job of limiting the big plays. The underneath will be there a little bit, but there's some other ways that we could take that away with some of our other base coverage shells. One other base coverage shell that I like against trips tight end is basic cover 4 show 2. So what you want to do here is just make sure that none of the zone drops are set, so they're all on default there. And cover 4 show 2, all you're going to do is you're going to show blitz your linebackers just like this. You're going to stand kind of right in this little spot right here. You're only going to send 4. You're going to QB contain. There's literally no setup to this whatsoever. You're just going to send pressure. And what you'll see here is this will be good enough pressure, and then you're going to be this 3-reg hook defender. What's nice about this is a couple of the different combos they could run effectively here. You're going to be in a pretty good spot to be able to handle. You're going to do a good job at matching tight end corners and things like that. And then as far as like a running back cross field flat route, you're able to just kind of user that yourself and be able to kind of stay in the middle of the field for anything that they might want to do. On the back side of this, another thing that you can do is if you want to blitz your user and you want to send a little bit more aggressive pressure, what you can do here is you can go ahead and do that. You can blitz your user, and then you're just going to D-pad switch to the quarter flat, just like this, and essentially you're just using the running back at that point. But that's going to kind of help clean up the pressure a little bit if you need it to be. But generally speaking, I really like this style of defense against trips this year. Trips is going to struggle against match this year because it's just not very good against man. There's not a lot of answers. And what's nice is you'll see that this, like, for example, everyone loves to play verticals out of trips. Pretty much all you have to do is take the running back route. So what you'll see is, again, just kind of run down with your user, and you'll see that the running back gets defended pretty well. And then if they untarget your user, right, then you could run that other variation. Or what you could also do is, let's just say, if they untarget your user, what's nice about match coverage is you don't have a ton of responsibility in the middle of the field. So if you see that they're untargeting your user, it's like kind of clear, you can just go ahead and run in and get them. If they're going to untarget you, they're going to untarget you, and this defense will do a pretty good job. You're essentially playing man on the running back, and it's going to be pretty good for you. Only other thing, right, curl flat, that's really good against this. So if you're facing this, you just take that tight end drag across, but you see you're getting that match coverage perfectly on that crosser. So just does a really good job. Match is really good against trips because it really limits like some of the bigger plays they can hit downfield. It takes those corners and crossers away without really having to put a lot of zones on the field. I want to show you my favorite 5 wide defense in the game. This is out of Nickel 3-3 Cub, and I think 3-3 Cub is the best one. And it's out of Sammo Blitz. You have to do it out of Sammo Blitz. Like, it's very, very important, okay? The reason being is in Sammo Blitz, there are seam flats on those slot corner and safety. Very, very helpful for defending 5 wide. So it's very simple as well. What I'm going to do, you want auto flip on here. And the most important thing is you do not want any zone drop set. So no flats, these are all on default. Very, very important. All right, Sammo Blitz 3. You do not shade underneath. You have to keep the seam flats. The only thing you do is you show blitz your linebackers, and then you're going to hover kind of right here. Now, what I like to do when I run this defense is I am going to hook, I'm going to zone all my linebackers. So you're going to hit right on the D-pad, flick the right joystick up. What that does is it puts the linebackers in hook curls, which is really, really helpful for this defense. We're going to do something in a minute that's going to change that, but I just want to highlight that. And then this is what I'm going to do against 5 wide every single time. I am going to blitz 5 wide every single time. Their weakness is they cannot block the blitz. And so I'm going to consistently blitz 5 wide. Now, the way that I'm going to do that is you have to individually, it's very important, you have to individually blitz this left side linebacker, QB contain, and then blitz your user. You want to wait till you QB contain to blitz your user. Otherwise, your user will reset. And then the last thing that you do is you take the safety that's in the middle third and you put him in an inside quarter. There is a cover 3 matching principle in this game where if you have a seam flat on the field and you put an inside quarter, that inside quarter will always match the number 3 receiver in the trips or set, which is that tight end there that's going to always be on the crosser. So we'll show this from the offensive perspective. So that seam flat will match the slot receiver. Then the inside quarter will match that crosser all the way across the field. So what we're going to do is we're always going to send 5, and we're always going to switch to this hook curl. So I'm just immediately getting ready to do that. They basically cannot block this blitz because they're going to send 5 out every single time. And so you're just going to see here, I'm going to switch it to the hook curl, and you see everything is matched perfectly. And this formation is caged when you do this. This is such a good way to defend 5 wide. It's very difficult for them to block the blitz. Let's say, they want to do... let's say they want to do a combo like this. We're still going to be in a pretty good spot because these seam flats, they're going to do a good job of like basically reading what they're doing, and then the seam flat is going to then react to that. So, again, and you'll need to practice the actual setup a little bit to get the setup down, the muscle memory, and it looks a little weird, but it's so darn good because this little slot receiver's on a streak, and what you're going to see here is it's going to get matched perfectly, and you see, we just played really decent defense against a very, very annoying 5 wide formation. Run defense from 3-3 Cub is relatively straightforward. What we're going to be doing here is we're going to make sure autoflip is turned on. And when I see an under center run formation, I'm going to make it really, again, just really, really, really straightforward because I don't think they can realistically pass. We're just going to use Mike Blitz 0. Make it very, very easy. You're going to essentially hover right over the center, and we're going to send 5. And I like to contain this. The reason I like to contain this is because if you don't contain this, it's gonna help with just like quarterback rollouts. You'll get some decent pressure. Under center is just not very good this year. So anyway, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna look to shoot through the gap, as you see right there. If I make the tackle, I'm able to shoot the stretch. Let me go to instant replay and kind of explain what we're realistically doing here. So we slanted, or we QB contained, and then what happens in stretch runs is, as you see, they double team, or they basically leave this wide open gap right here where I can shoot through and stop the run. Same thing to be true to the left. So like if they run the ball to the left, I'm still show blitzing my linebackers, by the way. But if they run the ball to the left, right, I'm just kind of being patient here. I see, it's a run to the left side, and I just need to fill with my user. It's a little bit difficult to show this with 2 controllers, but I'll show it again. I will say when they run weak side like that, it's not like you can't shoot in as perfectly as you can the other direction, but we'll show it to you again. So like left side, you see, I can just come out here, spill it. And then I also have the linebacker that's going to set the edge. That's kind of the whole purpose and strategy of this defense is that these linebackers will do a really, really good job of setting the edge. And then right there we had two opportunities to tackle him. It's just two controllers. It's kind of hard to show. But anyway, if they run stretch right or left, they're going to be. It's just they're not going to be that great at it. The other thing you could do if you want, you could pinch your D-line and spread your linebackers. That's an option. But basically, I mean, this is pretty straightforward. We just have to make a tackle, and it's really hard to do that with two controllers. But all right, we're going to make this tackle here on the right side. I'm kind of, or on the left side, I'm kind of like over this. I'm just trying to read the cut, and the computer is just doing a great job of running that. So anyway, that's how you stop the run on that. And then as far as like under center dive type runs, kind of same thing. You're gonna see here like dive. There's just a pretty clear way that we can kind of shoot in behind and stop the run. So again, just nothing crazy in this game, but I do think. If they're going to go under center, I'm going to send 5 every time, and I'm going to try to just shoot it just like that. Not too worried about running the ball in 3-3 Cub. It's kind of, this has been one of the better run defenses for a very, very long time in this game. Here you see left side dive. We're doing a pretty decent job. And then power O. So like power O, another run type here, right? Again, you just want to get right behind this guy. And what you'll see is in Power O, we're just going to stop it. This specific front that we're in like what's known as the tight front. It's almost like a bear front out of a nickel set. So it's just going to do a good job against the run. It's essentially like running 4-6 bear, but you're a nickel. And you see, I mean, they're going to have a hard time running the ball. And then if they pass the ball, the thing with that is, number one, they're really limited in terms of their combos they can do, to be honest. There's just not a lot of great combos that they can realistically run. I mean, we're looking at stuff like, deep in route. I mean, we're looking at something like this, something that takes some time. But in general, you're going to be pretty okay in terms of this, in terms of, how they're going to play. So you see here, normally we'll get pressure. You see the under center blocking is so bad. And, you can just get pressure against it, even against block running backs. So that's why I would always send 5 against under center every single play. If you start to play somebody that's really passing the ball a ton, you can go to any of our coverage shows we've already covered. But in general, this run D right here, really good unless they're in a super heavy set. And then if they're in a super heavy set, right, just go down to 6-1. There's no point in messing around. But in general, this is a really, really good run defense. Another thing you could do, we forgot to mention, if they're just killing you with the run to the right, shift your D-line to the right, and you can just get numbers that way as well. This is going to be my base defense if somebody does not come out in like a heavy running set in the red zone or goal line situations. And what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going to the Tampa 2. Now, as far as this defense is determined, actually, real quick, let me show you my coach adjustments so make sure we're clear on that. So as far as coaching adjustments goes in the red zone for Cub, the main thing is you just want, I would say, put all these on default. I don't think you need any zone drops whatsoever, and that's really the main thing. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be in Tampa 2, and we're literally just going to shade underneath, just like this, and then we're going to use this linebacker right here. What I like to do is we have this hook curl on the left side. We're going to still blitz this left side. So we're only going to send 4, though, in the red zone. You do not ever want to send 5 this year. Right now, it just does not make sense the way the game plays. And so we're going to send this linebacker so that if they do send a running back on a route, we're going to scream at them and we're going to QB contain. So you see, we're still going to give them this look right here. And then what we're going to do as far as coverage goes is we're going to take this safety on the left. We're going to put our user in a hook curl. We're going to put the safety on the left side in a curl flat zone, just like this. We've got this deep half on the right. We're going to put him in a curl flat zone. And then when I'm going to take this linebacker here that's blitzing, and I'm going to put him into a either quarterback spy or mid read, or I'm not mid read, but bluff blitz 3-rec hook. Either one of those is totally fine. And basically, your primary responsibility in this defense, if you want to, you can put this guy on a middle third as well. But essentially, you're watching this running back. If the running back runs like a streak or something like that, then you're going to switch off of this hook curl, or guard the running back. But basically, another variation of the same thing, right, would be to run an inside quarter and a man up. And if the running back runs like a streak or something, then you could do that. But let's say the running back runs like a table route like this, then what you're able to do is you're able to, just use her like normal and, play good coverage that way. So anyway, the main thing you want to do is you just want to make sure that you're shading down out of a cover two. And then if you want to, you could put 2 inside quarters, or you could put 2 curl flats, or you could put 1 curl flat, 1 quarter, right? Those are all different things. I really like to spy this guy on the right side. And then also what I'll do situationally is I'll just send 3. And the reason I like to send 3 is just because it's, I want to put a picket fence around there, and I want to make them have to throw the ball in tight windows and hope they throw an interception. This is like the best chance you have at getting stops of people making mistakes down here in the red zone. And then situationally, I'll give you one other variation here, and that's just we're going to run this man coverage, and we're going to run this hard flat. We're going to do something like this right here, get really aggressive, and then I'm going to do a shaded down like this and 2 hard flats, something like that. Get really aggressive, shading underneath, inside and underneath, route committing to the inside, right? We have the 2 hard flats for any kind of crossers. And then if they send the running back on like a flat, then we can just stay right here and get immediate and instantaneous pressure. So it's kind of like my core red zone coverages that I like to run in 3-3 cut.